Our world, seemingly so small, shows these unexplored treasures, from the great blue oceans to the colossal mountains, and the lifeless deserts to the bustling rainforests. With so many of these wild places getting destroyed every day, we must learn about what to preserve for generations to come. As for today, we will be traveling to the Sundarbans Mangroves. The Sundarban Mangroves, one of the largest of such forests in the world, lying in the delta of the Ganges, Brahmaputra, and the Meghna rivers and the Bay of Bengal. Large mangrove trees are what are most plentiful in the area, as the Sundarbans Reserve Forest, located in the southwestern Bangladesh and southeastern India between the rivers of Belzwar in the east and Harimbanga in the west. This is the largest continuous mangrove forest in the world, with a total area of 10,000 kilometers squared, while 60% of that property lies in Bangladesh and the rest in India. The land area, which includes exposed sandbars, occupies up to 70% of the total area of the reserve forest and only 30% of the water bodies, such as lakes, rivers, and aquifers. As mentioned before, the different varieties of the forest that exist in the Sundarbans include mangrove, scrub, littoral forest, saltwater mixed forest, brackish water mixed forest, and swamp forest. Beside the forest, there are extensive areas of brackish dunes with freshwater marshes, interior mud flats, sand dunes with typical dune vegetation, and open grasslands on sandy soils and raised areas supporting a variety of terrestrial shrubs and trees. There have been many considerable changes in the various mangrove species in the Sundarbans, but very little exploration of the botanical nature has been due to the remoteness of the location and the environment. Differences in vegetation have been explained in terms of freshwater and low salinity levels in the northeast and various drainage and siltation. The Sundarbans has been classified as a moist tropical forest due to it being variously closely to the equator and demonstrating a mosaic of serious compromised primary colonization and on the accelerations to more mature beech forests. And historically, vegetation have been recognized in broad correlation with varying degrees of water salinity, freshwater flushing, humidity, and tide levels. Some factors in the Sundarbans really affect how the forests and the humans and the water and the animals living in it really interweb and combine together. Temperature, as the temperature in the Sundarbans is 34 to 20 degrees Celsius and rainfall is extremely high. And the waters in the Sundarbans are a meeting place for all the salt water and the fresh water. Thus is the region of transition from the fresh water of the rivers deriving from the Ganges and the saline water from the Bay of Bengal. The salinity levels in the mangroves have been caused by an intricate process in which the Sundari mangrove trees, for which the forests are named, are slowly dying off due to sea level rise and acidification and salinity rise, and these trees have an extremely strong roots that help protect the coast. Humidity is around almost 80% in the Sundarbans, as the chemicals are organic carbon and reduced sulfur compounds and salt in the water and the soil. And the soil of the Sundarbans have mostly saline alluvial soil consisting of clay silt, fine sand, and coarse sand particles. The wind of the Sundarbans can go from anywhere from 21 km per hour to 12 km per hour, with an average wind speed of 23.3 km per hour. The tidal amplitude, which is the most important parts of the Sundarbans, is recorded at 3 to 4 meters a day, as the pH of the Sundarbans is slightly alkaline and remains neutral from 7.8 to 8 throughout the year. And the sea level rise has been an average of 3 centimeters over the past 2 decades of the Sundarbans and the vast mangrove forests of the Bay of Bengal, leading to one of the fastest rates of coastal erosion in the world. Many of the biotic factors in the Sundarbans can include fauna, microorganisms, vegetation, flora like plants, and autotrophs and heterotrophs, bacteria and viruses. Different types of plants and vegetation in Sundarbans could be palms, trees, shrubs, ferns. As a total of 245 genera and 334 plant species were recorded in the Sundarbans, and most of the mangroves in the other worlds are characterized by members of rhizospheruses, Exenifera or Combertese, I think I'm saying all that right. The mangroves of Bangladesh and India are dominated by the Malasive and Euphorbic. The Sundarbans flora is characterized by the abundance of Sundari, Gewa, Goren, Kiora, which all agree prominently throughout the area. Then now the animals. There is almost 248 species of birds, 58 species of mammals, and 55 species of reptiles found in the Sundarbans as per the 2004 census. They can include animals that are globally threatened and rare, such as estuarine crocodiles, fishing cats, common otters, water monitor lizards, Genki dolphins, subnub dolphins, river terrarias, marine turtles like the olive redley, green sea turtles, hispic turtles, and many species of sharks and rays. And other mammals can include wild boars, spotted deer, porcupines, and reptiles like the king cobra, common cobra, branded crit, and the viper are common among the venomous predators, while the python and the curcleback dormouse and the green whip snake and several other species constitute the non-venomous snakes of the Sundarban forests. Okay, now let's talk about some of the different species in the Sundarbans and how they all interconnect together. First, talk about the Ganges river dolphin. The Ganges river dolphin eats food like catfish, crayfish, mantua, clams, carp, prawn, dead fish, and algae, and prawn being shrimp. This is a commensalistic society as it gains everything off them, but the other animals don't gain much. Now this is a narrow niche due to it being the Ganges river dolphin cannot live anywhere else in the world due to the salinity levels in the foods and the humidity and the different chemicals found in the water, such as the salt and the carbon and the oxygen and the sulfur. Now, the Royal Bengal tigers, they eat seeds, but the digestive system of the car is far too quick to break down and extract nutrients from the seeds. But they all do that to have a cleaning out effect on the animals, as tigers eat a variety of seeds in the wild, providing seeds with the natural fertilizer in the scat, which is its poop. And the mutualistic relationship is the only one existing between tigers and plant life in the world, which basically means the tigers cannot survive without the forest, and the forest cannot survive without the tiger, having this big interconnected web. Now let's talk about some of the different variations that can be found in the tigers. The Royal Bengal tigers have a few different variations. The white tiger, which is a recessive gene, is a genetic mutation, which means they aren't really a species, but more for one-off species of the Royal Bengal tigers. The black tiger is not so distinct species with thick stripes due to non-auto mutation, but the black stripes due to the pseudopseudomelanism, and they're usually smaller than the normal tigers. The golden tigress is another rare color variation caused by a recessive gene in India and has tons of records of wild golden tigers. Many national parks in Assam is also known to be the only home of these very beautiful and the female tiger, but there's no recent wild sightings yet. The snow tigers. The golden tiger, but the snow tigers is in the north, and usually they live up in the massive forests of the mountains, and they prey on the different predators and the animals over there. And now, last and final, the Royal Bengal tigers. The swamp tigers of the Sundarbans, or the Royal Bengal tigers, a little smaller than size and slimmer in appearance, but have an extremely powerful ability to run on mangroves, Sundarbans. The Sundarbans swamp is home to about 74 endangered Bengal tigers and provide a unique ecosystem with one of the largest reserves for the Bengal tiger. This is why it's known as one of the last safe havens of the Royal Bengal tiger. And all of these tigers are important as their own variation plays a role in survival due to being in the different habitats of the world and in India. And for example, the snow tiger, they live in snow regions of the mountains which help them camouflage, and the golden tigers live in the almost desert-like places of Assam, which helps them camouflage and increase their population while hunting. So therefore, the variations in these tigers almost help them in the habitat in which they reside in. Climate change in the Sundarbans has been very detrimental. Global warming and climate change compounds the dangers of Sundarbans. These low-lying mangrove forests are highly susceptible to the changes of sea level rise, including indentation of coastal areas, increased exposure to storm surges, increased coastal erosion, and rising salinity in the groundwater and surface waters. The exploitation of natural resources and human-wildlife conflict has also been massive issues. Now, the animals in the Sundarbans have been evolving with their new variations and new adaptations for all of these changes. For example, tigers now like to venture farther than the forest to try to find new areas of homes where they can live in when the forest is dying. The Ganges River dolphin is running out of food, so they have to find new food sources like new shellfish what they've been found is eating. The Royal Bengal tiger is also slowly the population is becoming more and more endangered from the 70 forests being decreasing due to the forests being cut down and there being little to no space left. These are all the reasons why we should preserve the Sundarbans, as they're one of the most important, the shield almost of the Ganges River and massive population centers. Another issue found in the Sundarbans is the cyclones. For example, in May 16 to 21st, 2020, Cyclone Amphan hit the Sundarbans with a maximum sustained wind speed of 155 to 165 kilometers per hour and gusting to 185 kilometers per hour. With all of this, the forest was devastated and the humans surrounding the forest were absolutely devastated. With this, we must find new ways to track this and prevent these massive cyclones from hitting this, because the Sundarbans is a very unique piece of nature and wilderness that doesn't exist in many other places of the world.